following the recent building collapse that happened last week. We have with us a safety and environmental and sustainability professional, Mr. Taiwio Adejobi. He'll be speaking on how to create and imbibe the habit of safety in our society. You can join the conversation on 081-270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweet. So last week, everybody was talking about building collapse. And sometimes when we have a professional like you who has both local and international experience, it's always good to hear your thoughts on why buildings come down in the first place. What are your own general thoughts on why buildings come down?
Well, first, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here. Building collapse for different reasons. It's not unusual to have these things, but there are two different reasons where any building can collapse, either technical or human error. So about 20% technical errors, but then 80% is about human errors. Now, when I say human errors, you're talking about using the wrong material, trying to take shortcuts. So these are kind of things that eventually will lead up to a building collapse. If you're constructing on a sand-filled land, it takes time for that land to settle. So if you don't take the time or make sure you have good compaction or good piling, obviously you'll be building on a very shaky foundation. So all these things put together, and it could be a combination of the two, both technical and human error. But mostly, it's usually people trying to take shortcut to save costs or for whatever reasons.
So in your assessments, would you say that we have enough civil engineers that are qualified to build, especially some of these high-rise buildings in the country?
Okay, so that's a very good one. First, I don't think we're turning out a lot of engineers. Not too much engineers are graduating from universities. So that is number one. Secondly, you need experience. Most of the big and top construction companies are actually foreign-owned and foreign-operated. So again, you're looking at local versus international, really, to put it bluntly. Now, we need more engineers. And more than that, we also need to have a good level of enforcement. Because, see, you have somebody who has the money to build. And often than not, they want to have a buy-in in the amount of money spent on materials. They want to pick the materials, regardless of their lack of expertise and experience. So by the time you start putting in different influences, that most small construction companies would easily take, then you're doing something that's really wrong from the beginning. So yes, we do need more engineers. We do need more builders, because people that are not trained to build, they turn into builders. It's very common to have somebody, like I said, with money to build. And most of these developers, they're not builders.
Yeah.
They're not.
You're right.
And so,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
sorry, Miriam.
It's fine.
Can you advise people? Because a lot of people prefer to say, I'm a designer, I can build it myself. They won't go and meet an architect, for instance. They say, no, architect charges too much money. I went to this hotel in Ekiti, and the guy was boasting. I built it myself. I designed it myself. If you see how close it was to the toilet, the room, the hotel. In fact, you open the door of the toilet will hit the bed. And he was so proud. I designed it myself. So I was laughing because I went with my partner who is an architect, and I was saying, look, I designed it myself. Useless hotel. Do you understand?
No,
So,
I feel you.
please, can you tell them the importance of having people, viewers, and experts?
Well, the thing is, if you know you can get away with anything, human nature, you do it. Either here or anywhere else in the world. So, like you rightly said, we don't have enough engineers. So there's a vacuum, okay? Now that vacuum is created and you need people to step into it. So the gentleman that's building a facility in Ekiti and decide, listen, I can just put everything together, blah, 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 and then it's fine. It's not. And that is what inspired so many people. I've had a friend say to me, there's no big deal about having 4, 5, 10 stories, just to start. I'm like, it's not just to start. And this is somebody that is very educated. Okay, so we really need to make sure people understand the complications and the implications of constructions. Because if you have the money to build, fine. But you also need to engage experts. But because every developer wants to save money, okay, you go to a major construction company, they're giving you a 10 billion naira bill to build a 8-story buildings, but you only have 6 million or 6 billion. So you call an engineer who might be a good engineer but needs a job. It will take it up. Using 8 mm instead of a 10 mm, using 80 bags of cement instead of 100 bags of cement. These are not things that will give you immediate problems, but it's a build-up.
Right.
Okay?
We'll get a few more questions.
And with time, it gets to a point where the accident is going to happen.
Right.
So people just need to be educated. They need to be more aware that it's some sense of ignorance and lack of, the extent of severity of the accident when you, as a developer, compromise by way of trying to cut corners.
Okay.
And then you want to live in that same building. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't even realize what you're doing.
Right.
So that really is the area where we need to make sure people are very, very aware and create that safety culture for them to understand.
Okay, so, thank you for that. You would expect that this is common knowledge, but we also have the part of government. We have agencies that's their job to go on these sites and vet it and make sure that you have a proper engineer on site or developer on site, the builders, materials are, the right materials are being used. And the question is, who do I now blame if a building collapses? God forbid, if there are already people inhabiting the place, and I have the government official that was supposed to do that part of making sure that building has is strong enough to accommodate people. Who takes the blame and fall for this?
So technically, if an accident happens, a building collapse, the owner of that project bears responsibility. Okay, so let me put that on the side. Who is to blame? Agencies are supposed to enforce, making sure that everything that's supposed to be done are being done correctly on the site. Who is monitoring that? An agency will just come, an agent will just come and go and make sure everything is okay. And at the end of the day, is what you present them. I can also tell you for a fact that there are inadequate numbers of inspectors and agencies officials to go around all these construction sites. So that being said, you also have that opportunity where an agency can actually shut down a facility. Okay? That's them doing the job. But then one way or the other, buttons are pressed, phone calls are made. Again, the facility is back in operation. So for me, yes, you can blame to some extent the agency. You can blame the owner. But it's not about the blaming game. It's about how do we prevent this from happening again.
If I was to prosecute somebody because lives are lost, people have died. I need somebody to pay for this.
Yeah. And I do appreciate that. Now, there's what we call insurance. Most facilities, construction facilities are supposed to be insured. If you're an insurance company, if an accident happens on the site, you're going to bear the cost. It's a high risk for you. Wouldn't you make sure you have somebody on that site to make sure that no hanky-panky or short corners, things are being done properly, so that you don't pay out? So again, it's all about awareness, it's all about responsibility. But, for me, it's more about those innocent lives.
Right. Yeah. But you see, we can't negate or remove the part of the Nigerian factor. And why I say that is because we always cut corners. And when we hear cut corners, we think it's always about materials. But we cut corners in even professional, getting professionals to do the job. So for example, I want to do a movie, for example, and I need actors, I need the makeup artist, I need a gaffer, I need and I'm thinking, okay, Mariam, you can do makeup now. You can also do styling.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do so. You can also do makeup and the styling and the shoes. Okay, the same person.
And
do
even
like
sound.
3
Give
different
us
things.
sound to do.
Okay, I think you carry this just to carry the things. You can also one person now does 3 jobs, and we think it's okay. At least for us, the job got done. But in other, because I've been to a few productions where the smallest thing. I have a friend recently got a job to do some kind of job, and when they said he needed a quantity surveyor in his head. Quantity surveyor. When the quantity surveyor came, just to come and look at the numbers of this, make sure it's okay, and the person going to say, that's
that
what I'm
the
paying
job?
you. Just to come and know the quantity of what I'm using, and I'm paying you for that. So he's thinking to himself that
I've wasted this money.
I've wasted this money. That maybe tomorrow, maybe just for you to count how many. The next time I'll count yourself. That's a Nigerian factor.
Yeah, it is, and it's very unfortunate. And it's born out of the fact that it's either we don't understand the importance and purpose of certain things.
We don't.
You understand what I'm saying? And then we just do it. And it's also dependent on the fact that people will just take whatever anyway.
Exactly.
So if people are not pushing back, so why should they go
anything goes.
extra length? You get my point? So at the end of the day, and that is where the safety awareness comes in, where you need to educate people, let people
What is
understand.
safety awareness? Help me understand, because I know safety is an industry on its own abroad that we've not really taken it on here, where things like somebody comes in to inspect. It's your own
Exactly.
job to ensure the safety. How is that being accepted in Nigeria? Is it being done properly? Do you think many of us, especially those of us in construction, are considering safety?
There are a handful, because this is what I do, there are a handful of companies actually. They're really, really good on safety.
Okay.
When it comes to the facility. I mean, they're good. International standard. But there are quite a lot of them that they really don't have a clue or they don't care. And in the absence of good regulations, why should you go above and beyond?
Get away with it.
And get away with it, exactly. So safety awareness, okay, let me give you an example. If you, as an engineer, instruct your supervisor, listen, we don't have enough cement. You need to minimize it. You need to use this cement to cover 100 square yard or square meter, okay, even though it's only good for 80. Safety culture is for me to say, no, I can't do it. And you say, okay, Nigerian factor, wouldn't he be worried about his job and blah, 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 blah. But it starts from that point, okay, where you push back. And where the guy said, no, listen to me. I cannot mix this because it's not good.
Yeah.
So once that starts, then it will trickle down to the top, okay? And that is where issue of responsibility and accountability comes in. Because anybody will get away with anything as long as they can do that.
Yeah. So one of the problems I see is the fact that we really do not like to pay for quality. Quality in the sense that if it's going to cost me cheaper to go with this person, and this person is saying, I can't do this job if all these things are not there, why do I want to call the one that is doing shakara for me and making me spend more? Why don't I go with the person who would manage the resources and then give me something? And then in managing the resources, the person will still steal from the one that is supposed to manage, and we end up with most of the shaft that we see. I've seen some buildings collapse recently, and I didn't see chunk, I didn't see quality for it. It seemed like it was a pack of gari that just went down. Like, I was asking myself, did they not use blocks? Did they not? We didn't see
Cement,
anything. Yeah, anything that showed that money was really put into this place. So how do we begin to educate people that it's better that you have it right or you don't have it at all? And then insist that everybody who would be taking on the job can say, this will not be able to do this job, sir, and gracefully decline. But we need to eat.
No, so, and I completely agree with you. That is the general practice. I want to go with the cheapest, because obviously you think about saving costs, but the cheapest is usually not the best quality. And I think we know that.
Of course we know that.
We know you're not getting 100%. So you can say, okay, fine, you know what, I can deal with the 80, 75%. So you need to accept what you pay for. okay? And just, it's either you want to go
You need
to
to hold
sleep.
him accountable for accepting that, because if
Exactly. Because
you're
you
held
made a
accountable,
decision.
yes.
To say, you know what, no, okay,
If
fine.
people died as a result of that decision, then you have to be held
No,
accountable.
so another thing is, the money I have
Yeah.
will give me a good bungalow,
Yes.
right? But I want to make more money, and I do 5-story. I'm telling you to make me a plan
Okay.
for 5-story building.
Okay.
The person, the architect or the engineer who has that plan and knows the amount that I'm willing to invest should be able to tell me, no, the money you are putting can only give us a very good bungalow, or refuse the job.
Are you ready to take no for an answer?
Yeah. Many people don't.
So that's why I'm
You know
saying
what I
that
mean?
some of the people that should be taking accountability for some of these collapses and construction mistakes should be agencies that are meant to enforce this. I wonder, I don't really know how it works, but do we have agencies that come to inspect or vet the professionals that you have called to do your job?
The truth is no. I mean, that's the honest truth.
Wow.
I mean, we can play around that. I'll tell you what, when talking about laws, initially we have in 1958 what we call the factory house. During the colonial period, trying to explain the importance of safety in the work area and all that stuff. And that grew up until 2011, okay, when we have the Employee Compensation Act. You know, few revisions between that time. In 2012, you know, myself and quite a lot of people were able to influence the passage of a proper safety regulations that would have really kept everything the way it ought to be. Answer most of the questions here. Efforts were made. The House passed it. The Senate passed it in 2012, but it wasn't assented by the president. So that bill that is able to help transform and change the way we do things, because it calls for inspection and training and accountability, is sitting on the shelf somewhere collecting dust. The same bill has a potential of generating up to like about 300,000 employment. Because, like you said, if we have dedicated safety experts in each site, and this is not about construction companies, construction alone, no. I mean manufacturing, oil and gas and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, National Safety Council sometimes
Exact-
to be established.
Exactly.
To not be, so it would not be like we have something that does that right now, that inspection. We don't have any agency.
You have a state safety agency.
Yes.
Again, very minimal in their functions and responsibility.
And what certifications would they have to be a safety person? A
Training.
Personnel.
And she's saying they don't have certification.
What certifications would they
I don't know
get?
what to expect. Yes, please.
So would you be willing to train people to establish
The
something
national
that
level.
can train people?
This is what that bill called for.
Okay.
Okay? Ability to train safety officers. You don't need to be a brain surgeon to be a safety officer. Okay? 6-month online courses or even less, on-site experience. Every facility, manufacturing, construction, oil and gas, must have a safety representative, independent. In the US, a safety officer can shut down a $10 billion project.
Because I was going to say,
Yes.
you lowly safety officer, and then you're talking to this engineer. You say, will you shut up? Do you know how many years I went to school? I went to Harvard, and then you come here with your tiny paper.
Paper,
Get
yeah.
out of my sight,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean, I experienced that initially when I started consulting for some companies here. And it took the MD to come, because he is somebody that's really, really imbibed in safety. He said, listen, if the safety officer says don't, the safety officer has the right to shut down this operation.
Wow.
So he empowers the safety officers. So that is culture. That is spreading that culture of we care about safety. It's not just about putting on a helmet or safety jacket or boots. It's used talking the talk and walking the walk.
Can you tell people the implications of if you're supposed to use 10 bags of cement and you use 6? Can you just tell people now, just use this?
Well, I think it doesn't take me to tell them. They know.
And you think
It's like putting 2 cubes of sugar in a tea versus putting 4 cubes of sugar in a tea. One is going to taste sweeter You know what I mean? So the point at which I completely understand that you're trying to make is, listen, when you compromise the integrity of what you're trying to do, there's going to be an effect. It might not be tomorrow, it might not be next month, but gradually something is going to happen, and the strength of that structure would not be able to withhold.
What I've heard from you so far is that there are two parts of it. There's a part of government should do proper inspection. There's a part of the owners, the builder, to ensure they have the right professionals on site. And there's also the part of ensuring we have a safety culture where we pay attention to these things. Is that safety officer in each company that can ensure that everything has been properly put in place before it goes up? Because the truth is that, yes, this one building collapsed, but even before you get to the point, the safety officer should have certified that this is for every stage to ensure that this is okay to go to next stage.
You have to make sure it's the safety officer you cannot buy.
Exactly.
So, like the sad situation, a school is holding a inter-house sports. You would need a safety officer to go around and make sure that it's safe for children and adults
To
that will be using that
yes.
space.
In the whole industry on safety.
And see, the safety officer is just a focal point. The nitty-gritty and the nucleus is really about the people. Okay? It's a culture. It's not a policing thing. It's a culture.
True. Mindset.
It's creating, and it takes time. It's creating that culture of, no way, I'm not going to use 8 bags instead of 10. That is not an instruction. That's a culture. That's been, that's become part of you.
I remember when we had the CEO of TVC came in, and he came to changing landscape. You know how TVC used to look before? They started planting flowers and doing that. What this guy coming to be planting flower? What's is the flower we need? Cleared out the place and everybody's looking all nice and pretty. Now, eventually we liked what it looked like. But initially we were wondering, what is this guy supposed to be on the walls? They're painting these, can you get all these motivational things on the walls? They're wondering, what's wrong with this guy? But we've seen that it's a change. It's a culture that he actually enforced.
Exactly.
To help us understand that landscaping is important. Encouragement for staff is important. These are things that helps people move. But you're right, it's a cultural change that we need to do as a country.
You can spend all the money you want on a building and bring in all the experts, but if you have a team of builders that have that check-in shortcut mentality,
They will sabotage you.
Yeah.
exactly. So that is what we need to worry about more.
Thank you so
Integrity.
much.
Integrity. That's the word.
That's
Integrity.
all we can take, sir. Thank you very much. Any final
a
words
pleasure.
for
It's a
us? Any
pleasure.
final words you want to give us?
Well, I mean, the thing is, in order for us to move beyond it, because see, building is going to collapse. We're going to talk about it. 2 months stops, we're going to forget about it.
Exactly.
And the next one is going to happen. And the next one, and the next. So we have to sit back and look at what are we doing differently? What do we need to change? First thing I strongly believe is we need to put a good law in place. Like the bill I was telling you that was passed, if the incoming government can put up some kind of executive order to implement it, you're going to see a pure change across the board, beginning of creating a better safety culture. You know what I'm saying? So it's when that happens, you cannot tell a developer to spend 10 billion if he doesn't have the 10 billion.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So he's going to look for shortcuts. So we need to change our mindset. We need to be more safety conscious, and not just at work, at home, in the public space. So this is something that we really need to change. And forget about the so-called Niger factor.
I have a message from Ambassador Ayo Olukani. I mean, it's quite long. I can't read everything. But he said, Mariah, on this issue of safety, the Banana Island collapse building is again a reflection of the culture, which you just said, culture of corruption, impunity, incompetence of our public institutions. A building collapsed in TB Joshua's church some years back. Over 100 people, including 80 South Africans, died. It became a diplomatic row between Nigeria and South Africa. So he was just going on and on about it. But it's something that they're fault.
Send me that same message.
There's enough blame to pass around. But the truth is that we don't want to come back in the next few months saying the same thing. Hopefully changes will be made with the law and also with government.
We the people.
We need consequence.
Yeah.
We need to see the consequence. If your building collapses, you must pay for it.
No, absolutely.
If we don't see punishment for what you have done, people are going to continue.
That's the law.
That
The
is
law would ensure
That's
that.
all we can take
Yes, sir.
today.
That's all we can take on the show. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.